you normally would. Don't quite block it all the way, but just have them prepared to move in case he does try to run in. But keep droning for the most part. Go ahead, start speed, start your second gas. And I officially don't know what he's doing.
It's double expanding.
Okay. Suicide your overlord into his main. Spawn a larva at each base. Okay, I'm kind of lost. I don't know how he's supposed to hold that. Go ahead and just start making as many Zerglings as you can. Because, like, it's one of those things where you don't want to have to, like, all in, but if you let him get away with a double expand this earlier, then you're not going to be able to keep up with his macros, so as many Zerglings as you can until speed finishes, and then attack that. Actually, just attack straight into his natural, because you saw that he moved his units into your overlords. You know he's going to be trying to defend that base. Keep your Zerglings back in case he tries to scout. Go ahead, start your lair. And he's going biomech, so go ahead and start a Baneling nest. Alright, go ahead and attack. Group up all your Zerglings and then attack into the natural.
When do I go back to droning?
You forgot. You're gonna go back to droning now. This is just like a timing attack. If he doesn't block his ramp, run up into his main. If not, don't worry about it. Just attack into the natural, force him to lift off. There we go. Pull 2 Zerglings aside and make 2 Banelings in his main. Just keep droning your main and natural.
Yeah, GG.
Alright. Yeah, he shouldn't be able to get away with that. That really was just kind of a bad build on his part. But at the same time, if you ever see that, you have to do some kind of early pressure. If you just allow him to get a third base up that quickly, you're in trouble. So I guess that's kind of a good thing. What he should have done if he's going to double expand like that is place the third command center as natural and then slowly move to it.
Alright, get this guy in here.
Okay.
I know he's finishing up some food. Alright, tell you what, let's let's take like 5 minutes real quick and field some questions from these guys while he finishes up his meal.
Okay.
Okay, so alright, people on the stream, ask your questions, and we'll take a few now, and then we'll get another game or two in, and then we'll take a few more at the end of the session. First one I see, I want to hear how Machine deals with Marine Medevac Marauder transition into Marine Thor or Marine Tank.
That's when you just have to start adding in roaches to kind of supplement the army. You're still going to open your Mutiling Baneling. If he goes Marine Tank, or you need to start adding in roaches but still keep with the Mutilus. If he goes Marine Thor, depending upon if he goes 2-fac Thor or 1-fac Thor, if he's on a single factory, you don't want to worry about cutting your Mutilus numbers, but if he adds 2 or more, you want to start stop all Mutilus production, use the ones that you have just for map control and harassment, and then start throwing down a roach warren and getting like massing up roaches and adding plus range attack and plus armor upgrades. and that's kind of just how you deal with that.
Now, let me ask you about roaches specifically. Are we like sprinting to +2 attack? That's kind of our goal.
Yeah, it seems to make a much bigger difference than the other upgrades for sure. And then after, yeah, I don't really worry about +3 until maybe I'm on Broodlord tech or something like that. But
Right.
yes, +2 attack is a huge, huge advantage.
All right, cool. Getting some good questions here. Let me just scroll up. So last night, did you watch GSL?
Actually, I couldn't get it to work. I was pretty sad. Greg Idra was telling me what was going on, but I didn't actually watch it.
Okay, so you heard about the Hey Pro games then, right?
No, actually, I didn't hear about those.
Well, then I'm not going to spoil it for you.
It's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. What happens?
Hey, look, Zelnique. Well, Hey Pro goes 14 hatch on Scrap Station and gets owned, basically. And Artosis goes on to talk about, in some detail, about how 14 hatch just isn't viable anymore. And I was kind of curious about how you would respond to that.
Well, to be honest, it's very hard for me because the Terrans that I have played, I've never not been able to go 14 hatch unless it's like a proxy barracks or some sort of all-in.
Right.
But Idra himself is even telling me that he doesn't like to go 14 hatch expand at all anymore. So it's really got me questioning. As far as my personal experiences, I haven't really faced anything that wasn't quite all in that I couldn't go 14 hatch against. So it's kind of mixed feelings there. Like and comparing 14 hatch to something like a 14 pool, it's so much stronger that I really hate to kind of give it up. But if I do start running into that wall where, you know, Terrans are just not allowing me to start 14 expanding, then I'll probably switch to some sort of pool first build for most of my games.
Okay. Blue Flame Hellion drops. How to prevent them if you're not going mutas, or do you have to go mutas to deal with it?
Generally, as soon as I see a tech lab on a factory, I immediately start going roaches. So you won't usually have your mutilus up in order to deal with that. You're gonna have to go, you want to have mutilus up. You're gonna have to go roaches, and then as long as you're positioning your overlords around the edges of your bases, and you can kind of see it coming, and you react fast enough, they shouldn't be too big of a deal. You just got to make sure you have those roaches out by the time their drop's complete.
Oh, okay. Here's one that I've been meaning to address with you specifically, and now's the perfect time. How do you approach Lost Temple as a Zerg player against Terran?
I anticipate a Thor drop on my cliff every single game, and then play it from there. It's very difficult. Are you talking about like cliff drops specifically?
Well, like you know Cats, right?
Yeah.
I watch his stream all the time. He explicitly won bases on Temple against Terran. And you know, I was curious if you had a different approach. I mean, you'll expand anyway and just say, okay, I'm going to deal with the Thor drop.
Yeah.
And specifically, how do you deal with the Thor drop?
The first thing I'm going to do in any Lost Temple game is I always suicide an Overlord. If I see either a factory with a tech lab or a starport, I'm going to go roaches immediately. And because it's something that's so common on that map, I'm always just expecting it. You make 3 spine crawlers, place them up against your cliff to kind of buy time for the Thor to get, for your drop to be completed. And I basically just go the fastest Overlord drop possible with roaches, and I delay on the edge of my base with, the spine crawlers, and then I'll start pumping out roaches and add a 3rd queen just to be shooting the medevac and to be transfusing the spine crawlers and attacking the Thor. And it really just becomes this big delay battle where I'm trying to focus his fire on everything except my hatchery for a good 2 minutes before my drop's done. Then I can deal with the Thor, and then I immediately just counter drop their main. And so it's actually very successful. I'm actually very good on Lost Temple, Zerg vs. Terran.
Really? That's cool. A roach drop is how I've heard some people do their thing. so...
Yeah, it's not really the roach drop, though. A lot of it's just about your micro and being able to
Not
kind of
take...
defend with those
Yeah.
spine crawlers. Yeah, not take as much damage as possible.
Alright, well, Dental One restarts. I've got one more question that I promised I would address tonight by somebody who can't watch live. And it's, how do you prepare for the very common 2-port Banshee when you're unable to scout it by sacking an Overlord? Is there any big hints that you can pick up on? Or can you always just gas steal and say, okay, it's not happening now?
No, actually. That's something that's kind of been bothering me. In my All-Stars match, I had to play Boxa, and I stole his gas, and I thought nothing of it. I scouted a starport in his base, but I didn't scout the add-on, and I just made a third queen. You know, maybe he's going one starport Banshee, and I actually lost to it. I guess if you don't scout an expansion, you don't see any kind of bio army early on, and you see a starport, you should probably go ahead and get 4 queens, but it's still something that I'm kind of working on. It's because I still lose to it. Every once in a while I'll lose to 2-port Banshee. It's actually one of the builds I really hate to play against. And maybe I should make an evolution chamber and make a spore at each base or something. So it's something that I actually don't quite have a straight answer for yet, but I'm working on it.
Alright. Well, we can maybe come back to that at the end of the session tonight. In the meantime, our buddy's ready to go, so I will suggest him to you, and we'll get a couple more games in before we take our kind of end of session last question. So everybody on the stream, be preparing your questions for that. We'll probably get to that in another 20-30 minutes. Go, go, good luck, have fun. Yeah, those 2-port Banshee builds are pretty obnoxious, I'm not gonna lie. Even if you make 4 queens, they still just die.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly what I did. I stole his gas, so I didn't think it was even possible in the first place. I've never seen someone go 2-port Banshee after I stole their gas. And, yeah, I made 4 queens, and he had 4 Banshees on my base, and just wasn't enough.
You think Hydras might be the answer?